Okay, we're gonna talk about Eli's best of then. Because I never did a commentary over this, really. So might as well just talk about this. So let's take a look at it first. And I'll just kind of go over some stuff that I did. Okay, so this intro, and I'm just gonna kind of talk to it like I have done for my other commentaries. So little things with this intro is, first of all, as you know, it's one whole angle. And what's actually funny is the original angle. I don't have a lot of the original stuff because I deleted some of it, unfortunately, because I needed to make space. Angle is actually like, I think 2 minutes long. Like, I was very slow. But yeah, this was like 2 minutes, and what I did was I used Twixtor and then sped it up and slowed it down, or speed ramping, or whatever you want to call it, which was kind of cool. But here's a few little Easter eggs that some people noticed, not everyone did. But first, we got, the little message that shows up that says, check that sound. I don't know what else it says. 1, 2, 1, 2. Stuff like that. Then we have Eli's little thing here. So, yeah. And then we got AA Presents right here, which I thought was cool. But the thing that a lot of people, or no one has commented on yet, is I added this little box. This little box I added because then it looks more like a battery. It's just a very, very small little detail, but I was happy with it. I think it looks pretty good there. So with Eli's logo, I did hide it everywhere in this. My original idea was to hide it in each and every clip, but that didn't end up happening because that became too much work. But as you can see, we got Eli's logo right here, one right here, one right here, and then one more right. Wait, did I miss it? Might have missed it. Oh yeah, right here. So there were 5 whole Eli logos that I added to this. But yeah, then we got this. And then right here, it's not perfect, but I kind of tried to line this section here a little bit. It's not perfect, but you can kind of see right here it sort of lines up with this. And then we have a nice spin transition to get to here. But yeah, here this clip played pretty smoothly, I think. Oh, yeah, so I wanted to add this glitchy effect, which I think worked out really well. And I think what also worked out was just the fact that it was only on certain parts. So like right here, pretty much this was like a wave warp, a emboss effect, and then I had it like go up and down really fast and added some blur to it and some color correction and stuff. I was pretty happy with this angle because it's really hard because it's blurry, but I also think that's what helps, is it lines up, I think, fairly well. Like if I have my pointer right on his head, it's not perfect, but it's not terrible as yeah, so a pretty simple Tross edit. So one thing I started doing a lot of, especially with this, is I did I don't even know what it's called, but when you move the angle and like warp yourself right back into the game, I forget what it's called, like back to the POV. And I was doing that a lot here, and I was actually gonna do um, more editing to that to make it even more seamless, but I couldn't be bothered. Yeah, this is Eli's best of. I never actually went into detail about it, but as you can see, I did the here, and then I did a little quick cut here. But I was gonna actually cut these out and put it right here, so it actually look even more seamless, but that never happened. But I added a little bit of glitchiness to it, kind of like how Silly Goose does it. Let me just go back a little bit. You'll see it right before the tack double extreme shot. right here. Very subtle, but I added just ever so slightly. Like, okay, maybe it's not here. Anyway, I really like this transition here. Oh God. Basically, I tried to line it up as best I could. I kind of wish I just I kind of wish I faded it a little bit or kept the metals in. But then we got this transition right here. And this, I was actually worried that this would be too fast, but I actually think it worked really well. The issue with this is I did a lot of masking in this, more masking than some people realize. But right here, this mask is just a square. That's not that hard. It was right here where it was a little tough. And the reason why there's so much motion blur here is honestly to hide some of the like really bad, you can kind of see right here, the really bad masking that I did. But it worked out. It doesn't look terrible. It just could look better, and it's hard when he has the overshield. And then we got another one of these camera pan things. So it's not perfect, but again, like this is me in a custom game. This is the actual game. It's just ever so slightly different. I also just realized, wait, was he an elite? Oh shit. I just realized that. He's an elite because the HUD is different. Huh. Oops. Wait, is that right? Or was I an elite? No, that's... Anyway, I don't know why that HUD looks different then. I don't know Halo 3 as much as you guys, but when you play it back, it looks pretty smooth. So if you watch this, it's so fast that you can't even tell. Okay, so this right here, there's a few little Easter eggs, but first we have this nice zoom into here, and it says, "What's up, fool?" in the song, so I thought I'd add that. And I just like that it was, I tried to put in a little more work with the transitions and stuff, so it's not just a simple fade, it's a nice little like cartoon, or not cartoon, but sketchy like ghost pop-up thing. The other thing is if you watched any of my before and after of angles, this angle looked like shit before I did some cropping to it. And as you can see, it's not perfect. Like if you look at the air bubble, it moves a little bit in a weird way, but I'm still happy with it. The other thing too is there's a little Easter egg here, right here, that says, "What's up?" It's just a little thing. I didn't spend too much time on it, but I think it works pretty well. Just noticed there's actually a mistake here. It should not be here. But I think it still looks pretty good in the end. But this is with, like, I think it looks fine. And then we got that little "what's up" on the right, which was also just scaled and positioned manually. So yeah. And then now we'll get to the really cool transition, which is probably my favorite in the entire video. We got this really nice task, and I did some scaling stuff, but it's right here. So it zooms in, and it kind of rotates the same way that the angle starts. And if you saw my before and after for angles, you'll see that there really wasn't much camera motion happening with this angle, so I did a lot of cropping to that and Twixtor, but this I was just super happy with in the end. It took me a while to figure it out, but once I figured it out, it was really cool. So what I used was Video Copilot's Saber plugin, which is like you can make lightsabers and stuff with it, and I pretty much had it like it's called a stroke effect, where it comes out like this and follows a mask path. And then I also added, you can kind of see when you get closer, I added some particle effects that I think was literally just particle world, I think, one of them. And then of course I added a lot of glow, but I was really happy with this. And then I tried to make it as wide as I could so then it could actually transition to this. The thing that really sold this for me though was, it was the last minute, I decided to take just the saber and put it here and blur it a lot so it looks like a reflection. I think that's what sold it for me. I feel like without it, it looks a lot weirder and it just doesn't look as real. Because one thing about effects that really makes a difference is if you add a glow to something, you kind of need that glow to cast like light on other objects. Like, to be honest, there should be, if I really wanted to think, there should be a little more glow right here and right here, not just right here. So I think the reflection at least helped a little bit. And then we got this transition, which I spent a lot of time on, and I tried to get it perfect where my camera would go down and go perfectly right here, but that didn't end up happening. I still think it looked good in the end, so we got this to finish the transition. I think it worked out pretty well in the end. These two angles were probably my favorite angles right here, just because the cropping and the way it looked, I felt just added to it. There's a lot of motion blur here, but I think it just looks so blurry when I go frame by frame. I think when I actually when I play it in like regular time, it doesn't look as blurry, which is good. So yeah, like it's still blurry, but yeah. I really like this angle. I probably spent around 30 to 40 minutes trying to get just this angle. And then we fade it right back here. There was just a lot of, I tried to make my edit creative, but also as clean as possible. So I tried to do a lot of like transitions to make sure it all flowed together smoothly. There wasn't really much going on with this, but this transition was not as complicated as people thought it was. Literally, it's just a gradient image transition, like a default one. But I messed with it enough so that it kind of only affects this area at the end, which was kind of cool. And then right here, I spent a lot of time on this. I tried to get it perfectly, but I had to do this myself. I couldn't get this at least I don't think I could get this. Actually, maybe I could have. Did I just mess it up for myself? Oh man, I could have actually recorded this without the hood, couldn't I? Oh shit. Oh no, no, I did do it without the hood. I was trying to get it lined up without the people there. I spent a good amount of time on this. I tried to do this angle at the same time as this one, but it ended up not working. So this is a little transition right here. There you go, Ben. This is actually a crossfade right here. And this angle I spent a lot of time on to try to get it to work out well. There's not a lot of like really advanced effects in this specific clip, I don't think. It's mainly just some cropping and some hard syncing. I really tried to focus on syncing and make sure everything synced well, and I will never say it was perfect, but I think it worked out pretty well. So I spent a decent amount of time on this, but it ended up just being a crossfade. I was going to do this whole thing where it goes to the stars and then comes back down, but I ended up running out of like time to do that whole transition in that area. But then we have this clip, and again, a lot of these clips in the entirety of this video, they're not super heavily edited in effects and stuff. It's more transitions and clean syncing. At least I call it clean. You can call it whatever you want. If you didn't like the syncing, that's your opinion. And I respect that. But I had some trouble trying to match this because I did it by myself. So I literally threw that nade up in the threw the nade up in the air and waited it. Oh my God, I cannot talk. I waited for it to fall and then did this. But I think it worked out fine. It's not perfect. Like you can see, he's right here, and then he's right here. It's not perfect, but that's what I was trying to do, is line him up. I think that's like one of my signature things, is I try to line them up as best I can, like from the angles to where they are in the actual clip. Just a pretty simple transition here. All I did was like zoom in, another crossfade, but when played back, it looks pretty good. And this was actually a transition too. Just a very simple transition. It's a little doorway effect. But when you play it all together, Oh god, this is way too far. Okay, okay, so I just realized I forgot to talk about this. So right here, so what I did is first I Twixtered him so he slowed down. And then I spent a lot of time on this, but nothing ever ended up working. So first what I did is I just tried to change this color as close as I could to make it look like Heretic, though it's not perfect. But yeah, pretty much this is literally just a warp transition between the BR and the sniper. There's a certain word for it. I think Devin will probably know it because I think he like guessed it immediately. Um, it's actually not as hard as you think. It's pretty much you would take warp points of the sniper and transition those warp points into the warp points of a BR. And then in that is a little crossfade to fade them together. Anyway, I had a lot of fun editing this clip right here. I think what I liked about it was just this pin warping. Thank you. Yeah, it was pin warping. I was really happy with these angles though, right here, because it was actually 3 different angles. You can just ever so slightly tell that this one fades into this one. And the reason why is because I recorded 2 different angles, and one angle looked really good at the start, but not very good at the end. The other angle was a terrible start, but ended really well. And then once it blows up, it transitions to the explosion, which turned into this. Now this, I wanted to do something creative, but I didn't know what that was, so I went with this. So pretty much this is just the triple kill medal, and I added some effects to it. First, the shapes right here are actually another one of these medals broken up already into different pieces, like it's shattered glass. And then it has some blur and it has some glow. And then this medal I turned into, there's this ball effect where you can turn pretty much anything into a bunch of bouncy balls. So that's what I did. And then I also had one more medal behind it that turned into this kind of noisy warp right here and put it all together. And while that happened, that faded into the next clip. So I thought it was pretty cool. I was pretty happy with it. It's not necessarily, none of these effects are super challenging to do. I think it's more just like coming up with them is the hard part. And once you come up with them, it's figuring out how to do it. But I don't think it's too terribly difficult. So also one thing too, with these angles here, first you can tell that I staged this angle because he's up here in my angle, but he's down here in this, but it's fine. I'm not trying to point out all the mistakes I've made. But this is 2 different angles, so during this you can kind of see there's a little bit of a crossfade to form it into this angle, which I really like the little back and forth I think it added to the syncing. And then I was actually really happy with this. We actually just zoomed this into the, I don't know, the scope of the snipe. It's a little transition, but it worked well. Another little thing with this is, I think on the song it says the wind's blowing or something, and ever so slightly, there's a little bit of wind right here. Just ever so slightly. You can kind of see it if I zoom fast, but it's just a little bit of wind. First of all, I did not do anything to this clip. I literally just zoomed it in. That's how ridiculous this clip was. But then, we got this man. We just masked him out for a while and zoomed him in, and then perfectly transitioned him onto a rock, because why not? I don't know what was going on in my head, but we actually masked him out, and then we also 3D tracked him, so he's perfectly just over there on that. Well, maybe not perfectly. Like he kind of goes up at the end, but he looks pretty good right here. Like right here, it's perfect. I think it was because I was using Twixtor to speed these up that it kind of messed with the 3D track a little bit. But I was really happy with how this looked because the mask I think turned out fine. There's a few little things, but also I just like doing this because like you can see his eyes get so big right here. But yeah, I thought this turned out really well. I added some cropping and stuff, and then we have it fade right in here where it's not the most smooth transition, but I think it works. And then again, this is just some classic Eli going in. Added a little bit more of that twitchy warp thing from the beginning. But the real part of this clip is, I kind of wish I showed more that he got the warthog in the back, but there wasn't really a lot of time for it, especially since I wanted to do this effect. But we did another gradient image thing where you can see the space where the saxophone comes in, come in the sniper first. So I basically messed around with the gradient image until only the sniper was cut out. I was gonna mask it myself, but I didn't end up doing that because the gradient, I tried the gradient first and it actually worked out. And then we have this zoom in, again, just a fade, where we have this saxophone come in. This took a lot of time because I did some research. Um, the sax was done in AE, but I did some research and tried to find a good like cartoon picture of a saxophone, and then I masked every single line that I thought was important out, and then made them the color of my choosing. So you can see like it's a little, some of the edges are a little pointy, but it's not too bad. The one thing that's interesting is you can't really tell, but I actually spent a lot of time on it. I don't think anyone noticed this, but look right here. When the song plays, I added a little bit of movement, like right here you can see. So I actually had the saxophone playing. It's not just a standard saxophone. I actually moved some of it to play. It's not accurate. Trust me, it's not accurate to what he's actually playing. I didn't go that into detail, but I did add that so there's a little more motion. You just can't really tell when you're watching it in full speed. And then I added some turbulent noise fog. Oops, I went too far. I had some turbulent noise fog and some glow, and I think I used one fog what am I thinking of? Stock footage to do it. And then I made all these notes. I just took pictures of them or not took pictures, but I took them from the internet and then added some glow and color and stuff to them. And then I had a lot of fun. Basically, the map shows up depending on where the saxophone's going. And then I had it reversed because I needed the entire frame to fill up. The other thing too was this whole thing right here, this whole background, pretty much used turbulent noise, a stars effect, it used a little bit of snow, and then it used another layer of turbulent noise that I then added some glow and I think some hue and saturation, spun it, and then added a fast blur that I cranked up so that it has these like streaks. And then I messed with the evolution of it so it actually, you can actually see it moves within it. So yeah, I was really happy with this. Probably, I can't say it's my favorite effect because I say that for every single effect I do. But, oh, and then another thing that was really cool is I just used a gradient transition for this. So it just kind of fades out very nicely, I think. Okay, so right here, this is probably most people's favorite part. And I really like it, but man, I hated doing it. I hated doing it. And the reason why is this clip is a MCC clip, and he did not have a no HUD version of it. And because of that, as you can see, because it's not perfect, I had to block out the numbers that were under it. So I was changing the color to match the background almost every single frame. And like right here, it's pretty noticeable. I didn't get every single frame, but I tried my best, and it ended up working okay sometimes. Like right here, it looks great. Right here, it looks perfect. Right here, it looks less so. Like you can tell that this is not perfect, but um, I thought if I was going to do it, I might as well stay consistent, so I did it for the entire time. I made the banners myself because I wanted to um, correlate the scores with the actual numbers, so that's why the red is so high up and the blue is not. And yeah, we tried to stay consistent as much. I don't think I missed a frame. I think I was pretty good there. The other thing too is I did a lot of sound work right here, which I was pretty happy with. I kind of muted it and added some whooshes, and I thought it was really cool. So listen to this. Be a soldier, that's all I told ya, that's all I showed ya, that's all I really got into sound with this one, and another thing too is I took a sound class this last term, and I'm definitely gonna be doing even more sound work if I can, because it was really a lot of fun. And basically how I did that was I added some sound effect or music effects that like kind of took out the high frequencies of the song to kind of give it a more bassy thing, like the song's not actually there. Kind of like when you'd hear music coming from a room, you don't hear all the high frequencies if the door's closed and you're on the other side. So here, this I was happy with, but I had a lot of trouble with it because first Twixtor warped the hell out of this, but I needed to Twixtor it if I wanted this to work. Then I had to do a lot of masking, and then I had to come up with as much Eli stuff as I could, so I found Eli's cute little face, then him with his mustache, and then him when he's on this site. We got his Twitter, we got his Twitch, we got him on an SHC thumbnail. We got just another picture of him. We have his Halo 5 montage. We have this, which is from Puckett's commentary. Then we have Eli's logo. And then we have some cool line glowing effects I added. It's some more turbulent noise glow, which then goes through and we end up here. Now, what's interesting here is this was not the original. Actually, let me see if I can pull it up. This was not the original thing that was going to be here. I don't think I ever uploaded this. Is it this one? Yes, it is. Okay, so this is what it originally looked like. So yeah, that's what it originally looked like, actually. That was the original render. The reason it was changed was because he hit that POC, and we didn't want to put that at the credits because we thought it was too good of a clip. And then he also hit that Tross Exterm on Construct, and it was in the same place that the lift over, or the through the lift over would be. So we decided to put those two clips there instead. And I actually really liked my edit of this POC, so we ended up going with that. But it ended up working out. Like, you can tell the same exact effects were pretty much there. Like, at the beginning of this clip, in the original, this exact angle pretty much happened, but from a different place on the map. After this, we pretty much had the same, like, zoom-in transitions that I had in the original one. This to that. And I actually like this transition better. So here, you guys probably noticed this, but at the start of this next clip on Construct, we got a little thing that says can't keep running away, and the reason for that, and I did a little mask here, it's nothing perfect, like you can see there's some mistakes, but it's because in the song he says can't keep running, and his double started running. Then we got a little doorway transition here, we got that. So what's interesting here is you guys saw in the original, it was a narrows transition that got to the to Construct. So it was actually interesting. It worked perfectly where I was able to use the exact same effect. Like, it's literally the exact same, because I had already masked out the arm punch and the metal or the scoreboard breaking, so I literally just slapped that on here instead. Okay, so another little thing, just talking about this. When I was saying I really wanted to do some masking this level, this is what I meant. I definitely did a lot of masking here. So I masked the sniper during this entire sequence. Some people noticed it, I think, but it was a lot trickier to do than I thought, and it's not perfect. Like, you can see a little mess up here. But yeah, I masked this frame by frame for the entire thing. And then right here, this was not much of a transition, but a lot of people liked it. All I did was I messed around a lot with the hue and tried to change the Spartan from red to blue, and I think it worked out pretty well. Like right here, it's pretty cool, I think. But yeah, so I changed the hue here, added some warp, and then added kind of a blurry crossfade to turn into this, and then yeah, changed it to this. From here on out, it was pretty much some Twitch effects. Right here, I just made the screen red, and then had this. It like, honestly, this was one of the transitions I wish I put more work into, but it's okay. Okay, so then he hits this clip. It's really cool, blah, blah, blah. And then it transitions to here, and this is where I was really happy with it. I basically messed with alpha channels and stuff and got rid of a lot of the blacks just to leave the whites for the angles, which I thought was really cool. But I really like this song. I know a lot of people thought song 2 was their favorite section. This was another prime example of the using my own gameplay or my own angles to try to match it. It wasn't perfect, but like with some RSMB and blur, it doesn't look terrible. Say like right here is the cut from mine to his actual game. But yeah, we definitely did some work here, just trying to keep it clean as best we could, but also making it interesting. I was really happy with this angle here and how it transitioned. So like he's moving this way, and then the camera's also moving this way for him. It's a little heavy on the RSMB, but it's not too bad. And then just a simple transition here. Another little thing that I always try to do is if I'm throwing a nade and I go into an angle, I try to follow the nade. So right here we got, he's right here with the sticky, so we zoom in right here. It's not perfect, but we try to stick to that as best we can. And then this, the timing's a little off because we already saw the explosion, but I had to make do with what I had if I wanted it to sync. It's a little bit of a force sync, but I don't think it's too bad. Have another little transition here. Got the classic explosion into the next clip. This, I did a little more masking here to mask him out, but I was really happy with it. Just, first of all, what a graceful angle. Like, look at him flying there. Like, he's literally stopped in the air for so long, and then he goes down. Then we have a little transition here, which I added some Twitch effects to add to the syncing of the song. What's interesting here is it actually kind of looks like I'm masking between these, but it's really just one angle that I masked to make it look like that, and then it actually masks. Oh no, it doesn't mask. I think I meant to mask it into the next thing, but it didn't actually do that. Interesting. Yeah, add a little bit of shakiness and stuff here. I'm trying to think of like the creative stuff because like I think some of this is fairly easy to figure out. Oh, I guess one thing's right here. So right here, I tried masking the sniper, and for some reason it just did not look good every time I did it. But I had masked enough of it where it looked okay. So I actually just did this kind of glow thing where I faded it out, but made sure the highlights of the sniper were still there. And then I had this doorway transition where he shows up and comes down, and it kind of lines up perfectly. Oh wait, no it doesn't. But it's kind of, he's kind of in the same area. So that's good. And then we got him here. He goes up. We got a nice little red transition thing, or red effect here, which is kind of cool. Then we got this clip, which is kind of nice little glow thing. There's not like really a ton to talk about with this. I'm just trying to think of the little things. I really liked this angle here. Yeah, when I usually do these commentaries, I usually only focus on the stuff I know. For this, I'm kind of going frame by frame, I feel like. When I don't need to, it's just kind of hard to work around everything. Um, this I had some fun with. I added this cool glow that had some like particles shooting out of it. That was using, I think, just snow, like the snow effect, and then I added some like fast and directional blur, and then add some color to it. I also changed the entire background, so I think I luma keyed this maybe. I made it kind of a pinky bright white thing. I think I wanted it to be a different color, but that's what it ended up being. And then I tried to keep it as much. It gets really distorted here. When I zoom in, it gets darker. But I think it worked out pretty well here. And then not much of a direction or a transition here. It's just kind of a more selective crossfade. And then let's see what else we got. We got a pretty standard edited clip here. Oh, I guess right here we just got a little zoom out, zoom in on this guy. What's funny is it's just me and a guest, so he's standing still, so it doesn't actually look like he's fighting anyone, but it's fine. Then we got this guy. I wasn't super happy with my Twixter choice here, like, or the effect. I don't really like this effect either, but we went with it. It's fine. And then a little transition here. Really liked this angle, one of my favorite angles here. And then we have a nice little transition into the clip here, which was pretty good, I think. Just kind of move the camera this way and then, yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to think of what else happened here. Oh, right here I did some sound work again. Kind of muted the high frequencies right after he kills the tack. Yeah, so I added a little bit of a whoosh and then I turned the high frequencies down for a minute, which just, I really think added to it. So yeah, I think that was really cool. I was really happy with, well, okay, I wasn't happy, but one of my original ideas when I saw this clip and heard the song was to do this angle right here. And I think it worked out really well as far as the angle. I wasn't a big fan of the transition. But what I was gonna say was I had this idea from the start to kill all three of them with this angle. I wasn't super happy with this transition, but I think it worked out fine. It was just like, I don't even really want to go into it. I wasn't super happy with it. We'll say right here with this transition, I think Eli pointed it out, but I think it says time in the song, and let me see. Oh yeah, it says time. In this transition, you can see the smallest faded out clock. I didn't want to make it too visible, but it's just a little Easter egg right here. It's nothing big, but got a nice little transition here where he's right here on the screen. He's right here. It's perfectly lined up. So like, one thing about camera angles is there's the whole rules on jump cuts and stuff like that, but another thing is when just watching a video, you don't want to put an angle right here and then have the guy be way over here, because then it's just messing with your audience as far as what they should look at. So when you line them up, it kind of adds to that where it's like, oh, I'm looking right here, I'm still looking right here. So that's what's kind of nice, is it keeps your audience's eyes on the right place. The danger logo is also 1 frame distance away in the continuity. Oh, is it? Wait, where's the danger logo? Wait. Danger logo. Danger logo. Wait, are you talking about this? Oh. Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, wait. Oh. Okay, I see what you're saying now. Yeah. Yeah, I totally meant to do that. No, that's a good point though. It does add to it. Because it's coming. Yeah, okay. Totally meant to do that. Okay, anyway, so here we have Eli's logo. What's actually interesting is I did track this. However, before it goes into this angle, it is not tracked. This is manually tracked. So I had some positioning and scaling here. And this was just his logo, edited and added a blood splurt. I just kind of added this because I felt like it needed something to look at before you transition over here to this guy. So that's why that's here. And I think it tracked pretty well. Like, you can't tell too much because it's sped up, but like, it tracks pretty well. I was really happy with this track. Really like this angle here. I added a lens flare over here. It's not too prominent, but I also, this is where it gets a little interesting because the sun is over here, but when it moves over here, the sun is over here. So I added a little bit of sun flare still over here before he moves away. Here I was really happy with these angles and just the color correction here. The like very, very desaturated, but not entirely black and white. And then we got little floor transition. And if people were thinking these were transition or wipe or not wipe, mass transitions, they're not. It's literally just like we're in the next thing. It's just a frame sped up. I don't know if anyone thought that, but yeah. And then here we got this whole section where the music's building up and the color's coming back. This I added some shakiness and then added some gradient, 4-color gradient that I made all yellow, orange, a little bit of red. Here I decided to let my creativity out a little bit. So this was some noise with some color changing glow and then some noise warp. And then I kind of masked it ever so slightly so it would stay on that area. But I was really happy with that. Sorry. But yeah, so this was just the clip scaled up and I just completely lost my train of thought. It was scaled up and faded out and then added some twitch and some other glow. Okay, so for this was a still shot that I added some cropping to. And I also got a shot of it without the Spartan so that he would... Oh, wait, never mind. Never mind. I was going to say so he'd fade away. Basically, this was a masked glow that went through his body and then came out. I pretty much masked this guy out, turned him white, and duplicated him so that he's right here and added some blur and glow and morphed him into this guy, which was kind of how I did the BR to sniper BR to sniper effect earlier in the video. Man, my I'm so struggling to talk right now. Sometimes my mind, it's easier to show you guys what I'm doing than to actually explain what I'm doing because it's a hard thing to explain. I will say it's not perfect because you can see right here, that's the man that we need. And yeah, so not perfect, but when sped up, it looks fine. So, oh god, it's too fast. Too far away. So yeah, it's not perfect, but I think it works pretty well. And this is a puppet thing that you were talking about, Devin. So I masked this guy out, I masked this guy out, had a blank background with them not in it, so there's no blank spaces. And then use a puppet tool and move them ever so slightly. So that's why he's like kind of moving up. He's not just an image that's moving up and down. There's a little bit more movement to him with his legs and arms. So then we have here I have him zoomed out a little bit so you can actually see some mirror reflection crap. Then we got this transition. There's not much going on right now. Okay, so right here we have this effect. So what this is a whole bunch of stuff. So this is using turbulent noise again, mixed with I think some emboss maybe, some glow and some color changing stuff, and it has some keyframed evolution and it expands in a circle and then a gradient image fades it out. It also has a little bit of twitch effect. What I also did was I masked this guy out and took out the color. So he's a red Spartan, pretty much this takes the color out of him. So he turns to black. So yeah, and then like I really like right here where it's just there's like just a little bit of red stuff, which is really cool. So yeah, we have that. Do this guy, throw the sticky on him. I just added a twitch and a little bit of a glow. And then we have that pretty much exact same effect that we had on the red Spartan on the sticky, except we have it blue. It's pretty much the exact same. It's honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I literally copied and pasted it and just changed it to blue and scaled it down. But I really like just the really small effects here because these kind of things, if you're like trying to make effects, when you see these kind of things, you're asking like, how the hell did he make that? And that's why I really like them is because like stuff like this, you can kind of understand how they did it. Stuff like this, you really don't understand how they did it because it's like so random, but it looks really cool. So I was really happy with that. Then we have some cropping and stuff, blah, blah, blah. He hits the guy, woohoo. Tried to do another transition where it's not perfect, but it's like as close as it can be. And then we have this guy spawning. I actually killed myself many times to get this spawn because I had to stage this angle, but it worked out. Then I kind of did a little, I could have masked him, but I ended up doing a little wipe transition because I was lazy. And then we got him here. I really like this effect here. It was pretty much a horizontal blur with some green and white and then some cropping, a little bit of other blur. Here, this transition would have been a lot better if I tried harder, but I didn't. But we turned this into the next song, which, like, honestly, with this, I don't think the effect looked really good, but I think the actual song transition worked well. So right here, this is the transition of the song. I thought that worked really well for me. Here we have what took quite a while, which was the 3 back-to-back angle transitions where I masked the door to pit. So it's not perfect, but it goes from this angle to this angle. And then we keep going. It's kind of the same looking thing. And then we come to this angle where I masked that out as well. It was a lot of work, but it ended up paying off, in my opinion. Then right here we have him, or we have the angle move over here where it's a different angle, but I just kind of faded them together. We have this guy. I didn't even mean for this to be a transition, but when it goes around the wall, it ends up coming out a different wall, and it shows up here. Then we just added some twitch and faded out, so it actually goes right into the beginning of the clip, which is then sped up all the way to right here. And one thing that I really loved right here was, first, this arrow I did not mean to do. Like, it was not part of the plan. But I saw that he didn't really move that much, so I could easily track it myself manually. And then when he looks here, for this guy, my favorite part about this is the transition, how this is a camera angle that I did myself. I'm going to full screen this. I just realized it's not full screen. This was a camera angle I did myself. I staged it. But somehow it perfectly lined up. Like, I don't think it could line up more perfectly than that. I don't even remember where the transition is. I think it's right here. Like, you can kind of see the transition right here. But I think this was by far my smoothest transition into the clip, especially since I staged it. The other thing I did, which was a very little thing, was I actually created the snipe circle myself and had it come in, so it actually was even a smoother transition. Oh, I just realized the cut's right here. So yeah, okay, it's not perfect, but he shoots right here, so that kind of distracts from it. But when you watch it, it looks so smooth. Like, you can't even tell. You're not even focusing on how it doesn't quite do it right at the end. Like, you can tell the legs right here. The legs aren't lined up perfectly. But I just thought it turned out really smooth. I did the little animation of this circle for the snipe coming in. I also really like this transition here, basically because kind of like what I was doing, I tried to get right back into the game, and it wasn't as smooth as the other ones, but I thought the fade worked well, and I thought it actually, when you play it all the way back, it feels really smooth and really natural. So I was really happy with that. Okay, so right here, I masked out the sniper and the BR switch. Again, I did that I did that in my own time, and I think it worked well. So as this is moving, he's switching, or he's putting the sniper down, switching to the BR, and now we're at the BR clip. I just thought it was really cool. It was kind of simple, but I had to mask out the snipe and the BR, which took so much time. And then for the thing that everyone loved once they noticed it, there's Rupert, looking as cute as ever over there. Yeah, so I thought of the idea randomly when he looked over. I was like, I want to put something there, and I thought, what better than to put the famous Rupert X. Yeah, Eli's dog. I thought it was great. It was only for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames, but you can kind of notice him. Oh, that's too far. You can notice him. Yeah, you can just ever so slightly notice it. So, this lightning transition here was used. I used the Saber plugin again to do that. It's pretty much just a stroke animation where it goes up, comes back down, and it also follows it kind of. So it's not too complicated actually. I added a little bit of glow here when it hit the top, so it kind of adds to it a little more. And then I added the lightning or the thunder sound effect to really put it together. So that's too far. So the sound really adds to it. So yeah, and I added a little white flash, which also adds to it. This is probably my favorite effect right here. Probably my favorite effect of the entire Taj. I really liked this flash, and I really liked the orange horizontal streaks. And then this, like, I've messed with particles a lot, but I think this was the best I made it look because it's default round. So when I had this kind of square round, some were really bright, some were kind of dark, and it spun together. I thought it worked really well. And then I added another glow which put in the middle, which faded out the rest of the clip and turned it into this cool transition where it gets even more intense and it transitions into this. And I just think, like, looking at this, it looks like a mess, but at the same time I'm like, how the hell did I make this? And I just think it looks really cool. But yeah, I was really happy with this transition, and I'm gonna play it back just to watch it. So yeah, I was really happy with that. So right here, we have a cool thing. Using the same lightning effect, I put this little effect here, so it comes down and it lights this thing up. And right when it's like fully lit, that's when the explosion comes. And the explosion, what I did was I first masked out the BR punch so that it comes out first and it's not like overloaded with the explosion. And then here we got some particle effects, we got some turbulent noise, we got some glow, some other type of noise, some cropping, some directional blur. We just put a bunch of stuff here and had it kind of fade out. And I thought it was really cool in the end. And like, I think I screenshotted a picture like right here because like this looks sick. Like I'm not even trying to like say, oh my God, I'm amazing, because I don't think I am. I think anyone can do this if they set their mind to it. But I just think it looked really good and I was really happy with it. So yeah. Then we got a little transition here. It's not much. Literally, I fade the entire box out. Like honestly, right up to anyway. So we got some pretty simple stuff here. I feel like in the last song, there's just some like flashes and some decent cropping and stuff like that. We got a cool transition here. This was pretty cool. I pretty much muted all the colors except blue and pink, and then put a little glow just right here. I masked out just this section and added a glow, and then zoomed in and glowed it with the song just a little bit. I think it worked out really well. So let's keep on moving. This transition I kind of mentioned in the before and after on effects or on angles, so I won't really go into that. Let's see what else is there. Oh, this was pretty cool. I had some trouble with this if I liked it or not, and sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't, but I ended up going with it. I think the first time it was a little too harsh, and Eli made me change it, or suggested that I should, and I agreed. But I just added some like noise, some twitch, some weird color effects, pretty much anything I could think of to make it like sound like a guitar, like on a crescendo or whatever it is. I don't know music terms as much as I should. But yeah, another thing too, I really like this simple transition where he's reloading and he's going to the left and it's perfectly synced up. He's about to look down and he's right there. It's a very little thing and you can't really tell, but when you play it back, it went back a little far. When you play it back, it looks like he's about to continue the clip when really it's into the next clip. Right here. I just was really happy with that. I thought it was a really smooth transition. Oops, too far. Another little thing here. Some people noticed it, some people didn't, but as he's coming down, it's not the best effect ever, but you can see ever so slightly right here. Little arrow that's pointing to the ramp here that's showing that there's enemies over there. It's just for a few frames. Oh god. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Oops, I went too far. Yeah, so just for a few frames here, you can see it's not perfect. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can see it's all over the place, but it's just a very little thing that adds to it, I think. I also really liked here the grenade explosion that killed him turns into a big explosion that goes into the next clip. That explosion, I am not great at making that much practical effects, so that was taken off of a stock site. But it worked out well. It worked out fine. Here, I tried to do this angle, like, tried to make this line up, and it was never perfect, but I think I did as best as I could with it. It's like he's looking here in the scope, so it's not perfect, but I think it works pretty well when you play it at a decent speed. So yeah, we got that. Really happy with, like, a lot of this was just, like, cropping it and shaking the camera ever so slightly. You can see it's shaking a little bit. Really like this transition here. I thought it flowed perfectly with the song, and I just did a little white mask, and it worked perfectly, because if you play it back... Yeah, I thought it worked out well. I was also really happy with this color correction here. And I just really liked this drop. This drop of the song is probably my favorite drop in any song I've edited. And I think the shakiness and the blinking or the flashing did help. Sometimes I overly flash things, I think. But I think it worked really well in that. This, I think Eli pointed it out a lot, but I added a little 2-for-1 here because he gets the 2-for-1 exterm, and I wanted to put an effect. So we have that. Also, just so you guys know, the reason why there's a few social clips at the end is because the way I wanted this Taj to go was I wanted the first song to be nothing but social, and then finish it with 2 really good hardcore MLG songs. The problem was he kept hitting social clips and kept hitting social clips. And, like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's good. I'm happy he kept hitting clips. But it came to the point where I was running out of MLG clips to put in these last couple songs. So we ended up just like, instead of trying to rework the entire thing or taking out any of the MLG clips from the first song, since I thought the first song was edited the best in my opinion, compared to the second two songs, let's just put in a few social clips. So that's what we ended up doing, and I think it worked out fine. I didn't really hear people complain about it, so I was happy with that. Got a nice full transition here where I just slide through the map. I was happy with this little thing here where I added some little colors. I just added a lot of little hues and stuff, and I made a little circle thing. I just kind of messed with the layer styles a little bit, the blending modes and stuff. I think it turned out pretty good. Then we got that in really nice draw shot and stuff. There's not too much after this as far as editing. It's kind of simple flashes, cropping, some angles and stuff like that. Yeah, there's not really much left, and then he hits the task, which I tried to keep fairly simple because the task speaks for itself. You don't need to edit that too hard. Now we have the credits. So the credits, I didn't do too much, but this was actually really interesting. Is these boxes here? Do you see these lines that show up every now and then? This is literally just a static stock image thing that I got, and I actually added a mosaic effect to it to make it look like a box. So now there's these box things. These little transitions here where they fade away is actually really cool. It's actually roughen edges. That's the effect. And when you roughen edges so much, it turns into this to the point where it actually disappears. I don't think some people know that. Roughen edges looks really bad if you add the effect just by itself, unless you're really going for that style. But when you mess with it and manipulate it, it can turn into something cool like that. Yeah, I just added some like shakiness to them, and then right here, I added my classic battery, which is just a little shape layer. So here, I'm kind of gonna skip over this because for the most part, it's just some text and some basic syncing. I didn't do too much. The one thing that we were really sad about was this gyro exterm. This would have been in the main section of the video, but none of us had the clip. So I edited it in Anomaly, but I don't have those project files anymore or those clips. Eli didn't have it. The only one we had was on his YouTube, but on that it was copyrighted, so it was muted. So we had this shitty ass quality with his old setup, but luckily we still had that at least, so we made it work. Yeah, then we got a few more of these clips. Again, I just simply edited it, and then right here. And then we got Eli's classic snowbound air. One little thing about this actually that you probably won't notice is on the trough there's actually a white transition. But right here, he actually missed a few times, but in order to sync it properly, I just tried to cut that shot out as best I could. So there's a little transition here. It's so small that you can't even notice. But when it's played in full speed, you don't notice it. Well, you can kind of notice it. Yeah, I really like this fade. I thought it was a perfect ending to the Taj yourself here. And then the last thing of this entire video is right here. First thing, Eli X was here. I added that. That was using some bevel and emboss effects to make it look like it was carved in. And then we added some noise and twitch effect right here. And then it says DoubleAA signing off, CN Infinite. The problem with that right here is, as much as I'm really happy with how this happened, also I added the battery thing here. But yeah, I'll probably be making more videos before Infinite. That's more than likely. Anyway, yeah, that has been Eli's Taj. If you guys have anything you want me to go over right now, like if there's any questions, let me know. For now, I'm going to keep this open, but I was just going to show Devin really fast how the camera tracker works.